Hello, dancers! Welcome back. It's been a while. It's been like 7 weeks or something because that's when I got super busy with company life and rehearsals and wasn't really around to do a lot of tutorials. So, as a thank you for your patience and your support, as always, I promised I would do a company Q&A, question and answer video. Some of you asked questions on one of my community posts on my YouTube channel, where I posted a picture and a little blurb thanking everybody for all their support and making the announcement that yes, I am dancing in a company now, and I know a lot of you have questions, so some of you commented there your questions. A lot of my questions came from Instagram. Some questions came from my regular everyday life friends, Facebook friends. So I wrote down all the questions and answers, and I'm going to answer them to the best of my ability, but also try to keep this video short. I don't want it to be too long. I don't want to go into such nauseating detail and tangents that we completely lost sight of the question, kind of like what I'm doing now because I always talk a lot. So here we go. First question. What do you like the most about dancing professionally? I like having a sense of routine. I like having something to do. I like having something that forces me to get out of bed and start the day. And once I am there, I like that I'm doing something that I like doing, dancing. When we're taking the warm-up class and I see all of the other dancers around me sweating because they're feeling the same things with their body, or when there are moments where we're rehearsing and I glance in the mirror and we all just look the same, we look really tight and together, those little moments make me feel the happiest, I am finally doing what I am meant to be doing, and I feel like I belong with this group of dancers. I feel finally I'm doing the thing that I am supposed to be doing. I guess it's really the sense of achievement and satisfaction right now is what I like the most. I'm sure over time that will change. I'm sure once the new honeymoon phase wears off, I'll find other things that I like more. Maybe this particular choreography challenges me, or I'm working with this really cool choreographer and I'm really into the piece. I'm sure my favorite things will change as time goes on, but my overall overwhelming feeling of the first season that I was with this company was just happiness, just feeling like I'm finally part of a family. I finally have a sense of fulfillment, a sense of purpose, which I did not have at all before this company. It was just me trying to scrape together open adult classes. A lot of the times they were canceled. Not really surrounded by dancers of my age or my skill level or with the same goals as me. There's a new type of inspiration that I get dancing with dancers that are my age, of my skill level. It's like a healthy form of competition that I never really had before, but it kind of gives me a kick in the ass to do a little better, try a little harder. I have a sense of purpose when I wake up and I go to rehearsal. So I hope that satisfies the question. Next question. Are costumes and shoes provided? Costumes were provided. We did not have to pay money for costumes. Point shoes were not provided. However, there was very little point in this season. There was only one number that had point shoes and only 3 girls did it. So it's not like we're constantly going through pairs of point shoes that we need stipends for or we need to be reimbursed for. Point shoes were not paid for, but we didn't really use point shoes. It was mostly slippers, and I'll buy whatever cheap piece of shit slipper fits me and feels comfortable. So it's not like my canvas slippers were a big expense. I didn't have to go buy new slippers just for this season. I was just using whatever slippers I already had. I did not have to dish out additional money for shoes or costumes. Next question. Are company classes easier than what advanced Vaganova trained dancers are used to? Yes. For me personally, in my own personal situation, I think I am one of the only Vaganova trained dancers there. Everybody else seems either very Balanchine or just like a mix or just very contemporary. There are some dancers that don't even really participate in the warm-up ballet class. They kind of do their own thing to warm up. And our warm-up classes are very short. Sometimes it's just a little 40-minute mini bar, or sometimes it's a very shortened, condensed hour-long ballet class. And it is not a Vaganova ballet class. I'm used to having these 2-hour-long Vaganova ballet classes where everything is so slow but so technical and everything is so drawn out and so precise and you're like dying by the end of the bar. And these warm-up classes are not like that, and I'm going to have to assume that most company classes are not like that, because company warm-up classes are just to warm you up. That's it. It's not a deep, involved technique class focused on like breaking down all your movements and fixing your technique. And going over these steps and movements and variations and combinations. A company warm-up class is just to warm you up. You don't want to be exhausted at the end of your warm-up because you still have another like 3 or 4 hours of rehearsal after that. So yes, in my personal experience, these company warm-up classes comparatively are much easier than a Vaganova class. Like I said, they're much shorter, they're more condensed, the pace is a little quicker, which I don't like. You know, there's a lot of tendus and dégagés and like so much plie. Like it's almost extra plie. We never do an adagio in the center, which I personally don't like because adagio is my favorite thing. There's a lot of adagio neglect in these warm-up classes. But you know what? If I did have my usual 2-hour-long Vaganova ballet class, I'd be exhausted and I would not be able to get through the rest of the rehearsals. Next, what is a typical day like and do you get a lunch break? So, because I live farther than all of the other dancers in the company, I have to leave here 2 hours before rehearsal starts. So while some of the dancers are just waking up at 10:30 or leaving at 11 to get to the 12 o'clock warm-up before rehearsal, I'm like already on the bus at 10:30. So it's safe to say I don't get to sleep late when we have rehearsals. I wake up, I'm trying to get my shit together, I'm trying to pack some sort of lunch, make sure I have like enough water or hydration to last me through most of the day. And then our day at the studio is usually 4 hours, and it was only 3 days a week when I first started. But then, of course, as we got closer and closer to the show, we would have, 4 days a week, 5 days a week. But for the most part, the rehearsals were 4 hours, 3 days a week. And the first hour was usually a warm-up, the mini ballet class, a short and condensed ballet class, so an hour warm-up. And then the other 3 hours were, rehearsing repertoire and stuff like that. We don't really get an official lunch break. We don't clock out, eat our lunch, and then come back in. First of all, most of the rehearsals are scheduled after lunchtime / before dinner time. So I've had a lot of 12 to 4 rehearsals. I've had a 2 to 6 rehearsal. I've had a lot of 3 to 7 rehearsals. So it's kind of assumed that everybody already ate before they came. However, since everybody is in different parts, there are moments where some dancers are rehearsing their solos or a different group of dancers is going over this choreography. There are moments where, like, if you are not dancing, you will have, like, a half an hour to just do your own thing while they're working with other dancers. So there's no like break room or lunch room or cafeteria. But, you know, for example, if I brought my lunch with me, I could just like sit there and eat it until I have to go back to dancing. So we're not on our feet 100% of the time. It depends on which dancers are rehearsing which pieces. So there is some downtime where we can, you know, eat, snack, drink some water, rub our feet, stretch. So in that way, the schedule is kind of light, and, you know, we kind of just fend for ourselves when it comes to lunch. Next question. How much do you get paid? Nothing! I get paid $0.00. However, it sounds like I'm joining the company at the right time because I don't know all the details, but it sounds like they've been doing a lot of behind-the-scenes work for the past 3 to 5 years, trying to establish some kind of budget, some kind of nonprofit status where they can get money to pay their dancers. There have been other dancers that have been there since the company started. They've been dancing and working unpaid for 4 to 5 years. So it's completely understandable if those dancers with more seniority get first dibs or get paid more than I do, somebody that just showed up. But I do at some point need to be reimbursed for public transportation because in the 6 or 7 weeks I was with that company, I spent, or you spent too, because a lot of you donated, and that helped me get my bus tickets, my subway tickets, my train tickets back and forth to these rehearsals. In just 6 or 7 weeks, it was over $130 just to get there and back. And that's not counting some of the days that Steve drove me. There were a few days that Steve did drive me in because I would have a rehearsal in Brooklyn and the studio was like kind of sort of on the way to his office, not really. I'm unfortunately finding out that this is pretty normal for dancers. I have talked to other friends who are dancers and I thought they were getting paid. And a lot of them told me, like, no, this is pretty common. Like, you know, one of the reasons you join a company and agree to work for free is because, one, you're not paying for classes. You know, it's like free classes, free warm-up, free exercise, free doing what you want to be doing. And other reasons, either they really love the choreographer or networking or, you know, maybe one day you will get paid or exposure or whatever. And, like, I get it. You know, even if he is somehow making money, he still needs to rent all the studios for all of our rehearsals. That by itself is expensive. He needs to pay choreographers. He had a choreographer come in and make this whole new piece for us. I doubt they are willing to work for free. So I'm sure there's a lot of like behind the scenes stuff that I don't know about. I don't know how to run a company. But like I said, it sounds like by the beginning of next year, we will have some sort of budget or some sort of stipend, and hopefully I can at least be reimbursed for all of this public transportation. Because even with the help of people donating and even with the help of Steve trying to help me out, I still had to dip into my savings, and it's something I never wanted to do, but now it's like, you know, I feel like every time I make a video, I'm like, oh, I hit a new low, but like, here we are again, I hit a new low, and with no other income besides, you know, YouTube paying me $100 every other month or something like that, it's scary, especially because, you know, we're trying to plan a wedding. We're getting married in almost a year. So that's scary too. There are just a lot of, you know, I'm still wondering if I made the right decision, if this is going to cost me more or just dig an even deeper hole for me, if it's just going to take more from me than I can ever gain from it. But I am still very happy despite being broke. Next question. Is it like the movies where directors give roles or incentives in return for sexual favors? Oh boy. So far, no. That has never happened. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. I'm sure there are companies and environments where that does happen. But here, In my company, as far as I know, I highly, highly doubt it. I really don't think so. My director slash boss, Benjamin, is super sweet, super warm. I do not get any creepy vibes from him at all, not even a little bit. Now, are there other forms of bribery or favoritism happening in companies? I'm sure there are. There might even be a little bit of it in this company. I don't know. Like, if there's a dancer that has rich parents that decide to make a generous donation to the company, they're probably going to get featured more. Or if a dancer has some kind of connections to, like, a dance critic or a choreographer or somebody, you know, big name higher up that the dance community knows about, I'm sure that will lead to something. I'm a nobody. I don't have rich parents. My parents didn't even want to come see the show because Manhattan is too far for them to travel to see me dance for only a few minutes. So my parents are not going to be able to buy my way into a company. I'm a nobody. I can't buy my way into a company. I don't have any connections, really, with the exception of Steve, who has been a tremendous help as far as, doing some film work, filmmaking, video work for the company. He helped us make a little tiny promotion video, which I posted. You could probably see it. I think he struck up some kind of deal with Benjamin, maybe to help with a new reel. I don't know what kind of deal they struck up there. It's not like Steve can get me solos, so I don't, I will probably always just be in the back. I'm sure incentives and favors and exchanges do happen, but as far as this company, I'm pretty sure it's all PG or PG-13. I highly, highly doubt, and really would have a hard time believing that anything sexual is going on in the company. I really don't think so. I think we're all playing pretty clean. I don't think anybody's playing dirty. And then, semi-related, what is your boss slash director like? Benjamin, like I said, he's very warm. He's very affectionate. He seems to regard his company, his dancers, as family. And I really do feel that vibe. Everybody is just down to earth and sweet with each other. He has created a very warm, friendly, camaraderie type of environment. Steve actually has met him and talked to him a bunch of times and almost wants to describe him as like Santa Claus, because he's like jolly, I guess. He's like jolly and kind of playful. He's just very warm, and I've never heard him yell. I've never heard him be mean or condescending. I heard other dancers talking about him who have known him longer, and they said, no, Benjamin will never, be mean or, a bully to you. You know how there are, the strict Russian teachers that will tell you you're fat and stupid and you look like shit? They were like, no, Benjamin will never do that. And, he's smart not to, because then he would have no dancers left, You have to be nice to your dancers, especially if they're working for free. But I don't think Benjamin actually has a mean bone in his body. If he does, I haven't seen it come out. The other dancers who have been there longer have not seen it come out. And no complaints. Next question. Will we get to see part of your performance? You can see little snips of what the performance was like in the promo video that Steve made. I do also have some raw footage that Steve saved from that whole tech rehearsal that he filmed. So again, I can post bits of it, but if you want to see me, you're not gonna see much. I'm in the back. I do the least amount of dancing out of everybody. Maybe when I get the official footage from the show, I can post that. He'll probably post it somewhere on his YouTube or his Facebook or whatever, his website, and then I can just be like, there it is. If you want to see the show, go look. He also has his own YouTube channel where he posts his shows or dress rehearsals or choreography. It's just Benjamin Briones Ballet. So you can totally check out some of that stuff, even though I'm not in any of it, because it's all old performances from before I even joined the company. And what have you discovered about yourself during this process? I discovered that I can do the thing. I was always fearful or doubtful that I'd ever be able to hold down a company schedule. I was worried that either my ankle or old injuries would not be able to keep up, or that my body was just too old and tired and fatigued and shitty to keep up with a company schedule. I thought maybe like my dysautonomia or my endometriosis or just my really slow learning curve with picking up new choreography. I thought all of those things would hinder me and I would not be able to power through, but it turns out I fucking powered through. If you follow me on Instagram, you might have seen bits and pieces of like how every week of this new company schedule, something weird came up. So like the first week, I got sick. I don't know how I got sick. I had a cold, but I showed up anyway. The second week, I had this back spasm out of nowhere on the right side of my back. Now, it is common for me to have this little like trouble area on the lower left side of my back. But it was somehow, ironically, the upper right side of my back that started spasming, or like if I moved a certain way, it would send like the shock all the way down to my leg, and it felt like I couldn't even put weight on my right leg. I think maybe that was just from, attempting choreography, very, very contemporary choreography that my body is not used to, using muscles that I'm not used to using, making these strange shapes with my body, like twisting in certain ways, just moving my body through planes of space that it has never had to do before. So that second week, I was like, there's no way I'm gonna get through a rehearsal, let alone even walk. I don't fucking know how I'm gonna do this. But I did it. I put heat wraps on my back, and granted, I couldn't do everything full out for a few days. I still showed up. I got my fucking period. You guys know how debilitating my periods can be. And this is the first period in a long time where I do not have prescription painkillers like Percocets, like opioids. I need like Percocet to be able to function. And this was the first period in a long time that I didn't have that, so all I could really do was just keep taking naproxen and sleep with a heating pad on my uterus, and I somehow got through rehearsal. I somehow still showed up despite having that pain. And again, granted, I sat down for a lot of it, and I told Benjamin, I was like, look, I have this disease. It affects me the most when I'm menstruating. That's happening right now. I might have to sit. It hurts, and I'm not going to be able to walk or dance the whole day. And he was like, okay, do what you need to do. And I did it, and yeah, so just despite all of those things, I still had perfect attendance. I showed up to every rehearsal. I did not miss a single day. So I learned that I can do the thing. Even when I thought I couldn't, I could. Next, have you felt envy, jealousy, or any general bitchiness from your other colleagues? I gotta say, no. No envy, no jealousy, no real bitchiness. The only thing I can think of is that there are just different personalities. There's one dancer in particular who is just very type A, very aggressive, very assertive, very no nonsense, just says what needs to be said. In some ways confrontational, but not in a bullying way, just in here, what's the problem? Let's talk about it. Let's hash this out now. And she's just very it's almost like having another boss. And I don't think she's trying to be mean or condescending. I think she's just trying to get things done. But that is the very opposite of my personality. I, believe it or not, do not like confrontation. Believe it or not, I am not very vocal in a group environment, social environment, I just kind of stay quiet, or just I'm very passive. You know, like if I'm struggling, it's just like, okay, that's my problem. I have to work it out myself later. Like I can't make my problems other people's problems. So I guess I'm just more reserved in some of those ways. So when I see this dancer being like loud and like, let's do it this way. No, you gotta do it this way. And blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh my God, please leave me alone. I'm scared. So it's really just more different, clashing personalities. It's not that we're bullying each other. It's not that we're not getting along. It's just like, oh, I have to get used to this. I have to get used to this kind of person and this kind of person and this kind of person. But no bitchiness, I gotta say. So far, no real drama among the dancers. I haven't seen anybody fight with each other. Nobody's made anybody cry yet. So no, we're good. We're all pretty good. We're all pretty down to earth and serious about what we're doing. We try to act professional no matter what. So yeah, lucky me. Did you have to lose weight? No, I did not have to lose weight. Every dancer in that company has a different body. It's actually fascinating to me that we all work hard, we all kind of do the same things with our body, and yet everybody has a different body. And everybody is healthy. Nobody is super emaciated. I don't think anybody really starves themselves. I do naturally lose weight when we get close to a performance. So usually whenever I do like nutcrackers and I'm preparing for all these nutcracker roles, I will naturally lose weight. Day of the nutcracker, I'll probably be between 120, 122 pounds. For this performance, I naturally lost like 2 or 3 pounds. I don't think I was doing quite enough dancing to lose all the weight I had gained from, being so sedentary, not dancing, not performing. Like I had almost like a solid year of barely taking 1 or 2 classes a week. So I had gained a lot of weight. I was closer to 130. When I joined the company, I was closer to 130 pounds. I think the day of the performance, I was around 125 or 126. But I had also just finished my period for that show, so it's possible some of it was still like period weight. I don't know. But no, I did not have to lose weight. I don't think we have a weight requirement. Again, weight will naturally come off if I'm dancing enough. In this case, it was not a lot of weight, but, everybody looks beautiful in their costumes. Everybody looks great. Next, what do you dislike about company life? The commute. I think I mentioned how I hate the commute. Depending on which rehearsal space we're using, we have 2. There's one in Long Island City, and then there's one in Brooklyn. The one in Brooklyn is a fucking pain in the ass because I can take the railroad, and I have. The first couple of times I had to go to the Brooklyn rehearsal, I did take the railroad, but it's so expensive. It's like between $17 and $20 for a round trip ticket. So I did eventually find a cheaper way to do it by taking a bus to a subway to another subway, and I can do all of that traveling for like $2.75 one way, but it takes like 3 hours. So I'll have a 12 to 4 rehearsal, but that means I'm gone from 10 a.m. and not walking in the door until close to 7 p.m. It's like a 10 to 7 day. Even though rehearsal is only 4 hours, like 5 of those hours I'm out is just transportation. And I do have a car and I do drive, but the anxiety of probably not even being able to find a place to park when I do get there, or, there are parking spots, but you'd probably have to pay like a lot of money for a parking garage. It's just easier to take public transit, even though it takes a lot longer. What do the other dancers think of you? I don't fucking know. Um, I want to say that, like, the first rehearsal I had with them, they probably thought I was really annoying because I was, like, nervous and like, kind of talkative, and I had just watched all of these videos of pieces that I had to learn. So I had spent, like, all night and all of the next morning, you know, learning these steps, writing down the names of the steps in this choreography that we were rehearsing the next day, and, like, I just felt like, you know, over eager, I guess, because I had just spent so much time obsessing about this dance. I was like, oh, it's this step. It's this step. We do this and then this. And nobody's, like, listening to me because they're like, ah, fucking new girl, what does she know? But, you know, I was just, like, over eager to be like, look, I know. I did my homework. I know my stuff. So probably annoying. They probably thought I was annoying. But that was the only day that I was, like, really overbearing. I think after that, I just kind of, like, calmed down and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna shut up and just do what I'm told instead of talking a lot. So, I don't know what they think of me. I always assume that everybody dislikes me just by default. That probably comes from years and years of being bullied in school. So I'm just going to assume that nobody really wants me there unless they go out of their way to be friendly to me. There are two or three dancers that I have gotten pretty close with, and they have told me that they like me. They like having me there. But I don't know. I don't know what they think of me. I don't know what they think of my personality. Because I don't, you know, I don't spill my guts. I'm not a very open book. I don't wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm pretty quiet, pretty stoic. So I don't know. You'd have to ask them. Who is your favorite dancer in the company? As far as dancing, their dancing technique, I don't know if I have a favorite. Because everybody brings something different. But personality wise, so there's a dancer who is there. Her name is Olivia. She is, I sometimes refer to her as, like, the mom friend in my brain, because not only is she actually a mom, but I kind of go to her for everything. It seems that, like, anytime I've ever had a dance I had to learn, I was tasked with learning Olivia's part, or Olivia and I were right next to each other doing the same part in the dance. So I kind of call her, like, the mom friend, but I also call her my dance twin because we do almost everything the same in the dances that I was supposed to learn and follow her. So I kind of go to her for everything. I'm like, Olivia, when you do this thing, or when we do this thing, what is it? So so far she's the one that I've talked to the most. She is very mom-like in a lot of ways. I think she kind of, like, has the mothering instinct to kind of look out for everybody, make sure everyone's okay. Do you need anything? Are you feeling all right? You want to talk about it. So she's super, super sweet. I guess if I had to pick who do I know the most or who do I like the most because I know them the best, it would be Olivia. And there's another dancer. Her name is Betty. She's just fun. She's just funny and kind of silly. I've talked to her probably the second most out of everybody. And it's really cool to watch her dance. She's great at emoting. There's a piece she dances in where she's supposed to be like a demon, but she can absolutely 100% channel this, like, wild, feral animal in her dancing, in her face, in her movements and emotions, and it's so cool to watch because it's like she's not human anymore. So she's very talented and just so cool to watch in doing pieces like that. Like, she looks insane, which is kind of what she's supposed to look like. She looks like a monster, like menacing, and, like, she's really cool to watch. There are other dancers that I love watching too, even though I'm not super close with them. I haven't really had any, like, heart-to-heart conversations. I don't know too much about their lives. I don't know what they think about me. I don't know if they like me. They probably don't know how I feel about them. So, you know, I can't really say I have a favorite. I have dancers that I get along with. I have dancers that I love to watch dance. I have some, some of them overlap. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe that'll change. Maybe my opinion will change later. We'll see. What has been your favorite learning experience so far? This is going to actually sound very selfish because it has nothing to do with learning any of the choreography. My favorite learning experience, I learned how to deal with the new aches and pains in my body. So, for example, my calf had gotten very tight. My right calf, it felt like there was like a knot in it, and it hurt so bad. Like, I felt like I couldn't stretch it, I couldn't plie, I couldn't releve, and I was so worried. I was like, oh, is this going to be like a new injury that I have to deal with, or can I get it to go away? And I learned how to baby these injuries at the first hint of them so that they don't get worse and to make them go away. So I learned to, massage the crap out of it and then sleep with a heating pad on it to loosen up. The day of the show, my back was in spasm again, the other side, the lower left side. I'm still dealing with it a little bit right now, and I was like so worried because I couldn't even put weight on the left side of my leg that morning as I was heading to the show. And I was like, oh my God, what do I do about this? So, I was like, okay, let me do the same thing that I did to my calf. Let me baby it. Let me like rub it really hard. Let me put my anti-inflammatory gel on it. Let me keep it warm. And I just learned how to I just learned how to address my body's needs like as soon as possible so that my body could function again for the dance or the rehearsal or whatever it is. So I know that doesn't sound like much, and I know that doesn't sound like a big life-changing experience, but before company life, I didn't have this sense of urgency to take care of the injury, to help resolve it, to get back to dancing. Before company life, if I got injured, what's going to happen? I just don't go to class, like who cares? But now with company life, there's this sense of like urgency. You have to dance, you have to rehearse, you have to know this, you have a show in 3 hours, what are you going to do? I learned how to take care of these like shitty little things that my body likes to do. Who knows why it feels like doing those things, but I know how to take care of it now. Okay, we're wrapping it up here. A couple more questions. What do you bring to the company? I don't know, dry deadpan humor? I don't know if I bring anything super useful as far as my dancing, because as it is, I feel like with my Vaganova training, I kind of stick out like a sore thumb. I feel like I'm at a disadvantage because I am so Vaganova trained. As it is, Benjamin wants me to go take classes with this contemporary teacher so I can sort of declassify myself, which I'm a little nervous about. But as far as what other dancers have said to me, the day of the show I was kind of like lamenting. I was like, I learned all these things and I've been to all these rehearsals, but I'm only dancing for like 2 minutes in this whole show. And then one of the dancers responded, well, yeah, but just like knowing that you're there is helpful. It makes us feel better. And I was like, oh, okay. Every once in a while, I'll crack these little like dry humor comments that make the other girls giggle. And one of them was like, "You're really funny, Victoria. I like you. I'm keeping you." And I'm like, okay. There was this other moment during one of the tech rehearsals where some kind of falling out happened between Benjamin and one of the choreographers that had been there forever. I don't know if they were partners or I don't know what happened, but there was some little like dramatic moment, some falling out, and the dancers were like upset about it, like visibly upset. And, they were trying to like calm themselves and dry the tears before we continued on with the rehearsal. And I think I just like cracked a joke or two backstage without being insensitive. I was just like, oh, well, you know, we gotta be the adults now, or like, you know, well, the whole theme of our show is passion. It's a time for passion. We just got our passion. And they kind of laughed, and it like diffused the tension. So I think just being my salty self adds some sort of comic relief. I don't know if the dancers know this or have perceived it, but I hope they do know this. I'm a pretty safe person to come to if you need somebody to talk to about anything. I'm not judgmental. I'm not bossy. I'm not even really going to try to offer advice because I don't know what the fuck advice I could give, but I'm a good listener. You know, I'm sure I come across as like being kind of quiet and not wanting to be bothered, or, you know, just not wanting to gossip or be dramatic, but I think I am just like a safe, calming person to be around, because I'm not super like type A. I'm not like super driven and eager and like, I gotta do all the things yesterday, like they should have been done by now. Like I'm not so in my head about those things. Or if I am in my head, it's a much more depressed and like lower. It's not high. I'm not a high buzzing anxiety person. I'm pretty down low. I'm like a blonde Daria. Not just for the dancers, but like other friends, non-dancer friends have told me this too. They're like, I don't know, I just feel like I could talk to you about this. I feel like I can tell you anything. And I'm like, yeah, you can. I don't care. It's not gonna ruffle. Nothing really ruffles my feathers. And also, like, secrets are safe with me because, number one, who the fuck am I gonna tell? Like, I don't care. Like, I'm not gossipy, and I do have my degree in psychology, so I could just be like your kind of quasi therapist. So there's that. Are your tattoos and piercings a problem? I knew this would come up. My tattoos and piercings are not a problem for the rehearsals. Nobody cares. If we're rehearsing, if we're in class, if we're learning something, nobody gives a fuck. It's only an issue for the performance. I took out all my earrings. I put clear retainers. I put clear jewelry in my cheeks because when I take the cheek piercing out, these piercings leave permanent dimples, like deep. So, you know, taking out the piercing left a dimple, like a dent, almost as noticeable as this metallic jewelry itself. And it looked really weird. So I filled it in with just like a little clear ball. And from like 10 feet away, you probably couldn't see it. And I was in the back for all the dancing I did anyway. So nobody's going to see it. I did not have to cover my side piece, actually. My costume somehow just perfectly covered it on the back. I did cover my wrist tattoos, and I covered the little bit of my side piece tattoo that stuck out on the hip underneath the leotard, because we didn't have tights. Well, at least my costume didn't have tights. It was just like this weird one-piece bodice platter tutu thing. It looked like a frisbee. Not like a tulle tutu, it was like a hoop with fabric around it. So yeah, I covered whatever tattoos were visible with makeup, and I took out all my extra earrings. And even then, I don't know if I necessarily had to do that. I did it just to be professional and just as a precaution, but there were other dancers with tattoos on their wrists. They didn't cover them up. There were other dancers with extra earrings, like multiple earrings that they didn't take out, and nobody said anything to them. So, I mean, you know, better safe than sorry. Like, I'm glad I did it, but it was a pain in the ass because, like, I got some makeup on the costume and I had to clean off my costume, and it was, you know, and I'm always worried or afraid to fuck around with these piercings. They're very temperamental, so yeah, but it was not a problem. There is one final question, and I think it's a good question to kind of sum up this video. What are your goals in the future? To dance more and hopefully get paid. I would like to dance more because, as I said, I went to every single rehearsal. I never missed a rehearsal. I went when I was sick, I went when I was injured, I went when I had my period, and I was assigned parts to learn, like, oh, Victoria, learn this person's part in this dance, learn this person's part in this dance, learn this part in this dance. And I did. I watched the videos, I learned the parts, I wrote down all the names of the steps, I knew it, never given the chance to run it or rehearse it. And, you know, as we're getting close to the show, I was like, hi, I've been tasked with learning all these parts, and I know them, but I've never had the chance to run them or rehearse them. So if you want me to do them, I would like to have the chance to rehearse them with the other dancers soon. And then he was like, oh, if you haven't rehearsed it yet, don't worry about it. You don't have to do it. And I was like, but, yeah, so I hope I dance more, or at least be notified of what the casting situation is like sooner, because granted, I should be learning all the parts of all the dances as much as I can, but I was like giving myself a lot of anxiety learning all these parts and trying to know them perfectly. So I'd rather save myself the anxiety and aggravation. Like, if there's something that he has no intention of casting me in, then, like, don't make me learn the part, because that is very time consuming for me. I've told you all that, like, I'm not a visual learner. I can't watch a piece and then do it. I'm better with the written word. I have to write down names of the steps, and that is very time consuming. So I want to know for certain what I'm responsible for. I don't want it to be as nebulous. And I want to eventually get paid, because that would be nice. And like I said, it sounds like we're getting there. But I don't want to keep going broke on the public transit, on the train tickets and the bus tickets and the subway tickets. Yeah, my goal is to at least break even with the cost of transportation and to dance more. Those are my goals. And to, you know, continue building these friendships. I'm happy with where I'm at now, but if we can become even more of a family, or if I can, you know, establish some stronger bonds, make some friends, make some connections, even like have these dancer friends to just be like, hey dancers, I have this idea for like a music video or a thing I want to choreograph. Are you down to do this with me? And I'm sure most of them will be like, yeah. So like, that's cool too. Like, I wanna keep this family. I like the dancers that I'm with. I think that wraps it up. If anybody thinks of new questions, you can always comment them below, and I can always make another Q&A company question and answer video. So yeah, thanks for watching, and stay salty, my friends.